Welcome to this episode of Conversations at Night. I am your host, Irene Sidede. On this episode, we have Alvin Codner. He's here to share his inspiring story of how he went from being homeless to now a teacher, an artist, and possibly the future mayor of Kissimmee. Stay tuned to hear his journey of how he overcame homelessness. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Conversations at Night. Tonight we have a special guest with us. His name is Alvin Codner.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm grateful. Awesome to be here. Excited.
I'm glad you're here. I'm excited too. So today we're going to be talking about a topic that, to me, I find that it's very sad to think about. Mm-hmm. I wish it was one of those where we had a quick fix, quick solution, but it's definitely something that I think takes time to fix. And that is the topic of homelessness. Yes. I do know that you have firsthand experience with that.
Correct.
So could you give a brief summary of your experience being homeless?
Yeah, sure, of course. There a lot of people, when they first hear homelessness, they put everyone in one little bottle. They think there's a homeless person on the street asking and begging for food or money, whatever the case may be. But there are three different categories. You got transitional, episodic, and chronic. And transitional homeless is basically when it's you're in transition towards either you lose a job or you're moving to a different state, or it's a unfortunate situation where you're homeless at that point in time. For the episodic, that is you're in and out of being homeless. You're always getting in a relationship with someone or domestic violence cases, stuff like that, where you're living with a person, get kicked out. Get in another situation, get kicked out, or get in a home, and you're just different things that happen, unfortunate events, in and out. Now the chronic one is when mental health issues, drug issues, etc. So with that being said, I feel like I was transitional because it was a short period of time, about 8 months in California. I had ended up getting a job out there after I graduated with my first master's degree. And the thing about it was that the average one bedroom at that point in time in San Francisco in 2015 was $3,500 a month for a one bedroom, and I was getting paid $2,000. Mm-hmm. So I was $1,500 short already, including the fact that gas is like $4 and how much cents for gas a gallon, and everything's just more expensive there. So my pay wasn't matching the cost of living. So I was sleeping out of my car. I was sleeping on motels on the weekend. I had to cross the bridge to go to Oakland because those are where the cheaper motels were at. And as well as sleeping on a couch or two from time to time. But, you make it work. You got to do what you got to do at the time. I knew it was temporary. I didn't think I was going to be there for too long. I made a commitment to the kids that I was working with at the school. I was a program coordinator at an elementary school out there, and I already made a commitment to them, so I stuck it out as long as I can for 8 months, and then it just came to a point in time where it was just best off, more beneficial for not only me but for the kids too, because I was coming to school, I was very tired, and I couldn't keep up with the energy. Like, it was very hard, and I was in school too at the same time doing my schoolwork, and my grades were dropping. As well, because I was doing online courses for my last master's that I got as well, doing all that all at the same time. So it was tough, but I learned a lot. I was already a humble person, but I was even more humbling with that life experience. Mm-hmm.
So you were living out of your car.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that were going through your mind at the time? Because you would go to bed in your car, I'm assuming. Yeah. Would you eat in your car as well?
Yeah. I would. Everything was in the car. Like, you don't have no microwave, no kitchen. So whenever I would get the food, I'll try to eat it as fast as I can. But if I get a long meal or a big meal, I'll eat half of it hot and then the other half cold. So I make sure it's some type of food that I can eat cold or whatever the case may be. But night times be tough. I try to park up next to my school or park up next to someone that had a Wi-Fi connection to where I could do my schoolwork in my car that's close enough, but it'll be so slow and the internet connection will go in and out. So I was trying to stay busy as much as I can to kind of keep my mind off of everything that's going on. It's more so like sometimes, it's tough. Like sometimes it's like, man, dang, like how am I homeless? And for me, I had 3 degrees at that point in time. I'm like, man, how do I have 3 degrees and I'm out here living in my car? And every time I try to get a place, it was always a barrier. Like the places that I could afford was 55 plus senior living, assisted living places. That's like $900 or whatever. The Section 8 housing was 2 years, a year to 2 year waiting list if I was to apply and be eligible. So, it's just for me. I was just praying to God. I used to call some of my close ones. My mom, my dad, my people I went to college with, people I'm close to. But sometimes at the same time, I wasn't trying to let them know what I was going through.
Right. You don't want them to worry.
You don't want to worry. One, you don't want them to worry. Also, it's kind of discouraging. Like, or not say discouraging, kind of felt embarrassed. It's like everyone seen me going to California, like, oh yeah, you got a new job and he's doing this thing. And then it's like I get there and I'm struggling. I'm out here struggling, and it's like, man, it kind of felt, it was like an embarrassment. Like, and I feel like that's a psychological thing for other homeless people as well, because they feel either embarrassed or they feel they don't have the courage to go and stand up or go and get a job or go to an interview because they feel as if they're nothing. They don't fit. They don't look the part. They don't, they don't look appealing to others. So I feel like that plays a big role, like psychologically.
Right. I could imagine like it's probably stressful. And, on top of that, the shame. And like you're saying, the psychological effects that it has on you is tough.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because especially like when some of the kids found out that I was homeless, like I was sleeping in my car, because they'll walk by in the morning time and I'll be asleep like in the car. And some of the kids like, oh yeah, AC sleeps in his car. They call me Coach AC. Like, oh, AC sleeps in his car, da da da. And they always ask like, yeah, where do you live at? And I can never give them an answer like, oh yeah, I live around the way. Like, yeah, I was already here in the morning. God just make things up, so they didn't really know. And that was even to the teachers too, because teachers would ask. I'm like, oh no, yeah, I'm good. So the only people that knew was actually the principal and the assistant principal. That's like I couldn't own it then. Like at that point in time, while I was homeless, I couldn't own being homeless. But now I can own it. I overcame it. So it's like now I can kind of speak on that and kind of give hope to people who are in the transitional stage of being homeless. So yeah.
And did you ever experience any type of threats while you were living in your car or living couch to couch?
It was like in the area where I worked at wasn't the best of neighborhoods. And like when I was sleeping in the car, like of course like the police, like you'll hear gunshots and stuff like that, and the police would be searching through the cars and they're knocking on the car, assuming that, I was a part of the shooting or I was a part of something. And I'm just like, nah, this is where I live at, but they're used to that. They see that a lot, but it's just little things like that, like in the nighttime that, the police would come up or whatever. And the area it was a gang related area as well, in the Dubs is what they called it over there in the Bay Area. And my work shirt was actually blue, and that was more like they had a lot of bloods there. They had Crip shit too, but my work shirt was blue. So,
if you could explain what that means for those who don't know what the blue and the red.
Yeah, Bloods and the Bloods wear red, which is a gang activity or gang family or whatever the case may be. They wear red, and Crips will wear blue. So my work shirt was blue, and there was a lot of Bloods in the area. So they would assume that I was Crip, but I'm not. I was just a regular person. So I always used to, take off my shirt or wear another shirt, wear a jacket, whatever the case may be that I could. But when I'm at school and my car's out right there and then right in front of the neighborhoods where it's at, it was kind of hard to avoid. But a lot of times they grew to know me. Like they grew to know that I was working at the school. So it's it was okay at the end of the day. But at first it was like kind of little pressure, kind of little issues, but I never was one of those big bad type of guys. Like I'm not about that life. That's not what I do. I'm just here to work. I'm just here for the kids. And, I kind of built the respect and they respected me based off that. Oh, I'm doing something for the kids and stuff like that. So kind of worked out in my favor in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I asked that question is because I feel like a lot of people forget that homeless people also do have issues with safety and being secure. Yes, they don't have a house, but they still, they struggle with that as well.
It is tough because when you see like the homeless people out there, like even like the ones I used to meet at Starbucks. I used to go to Starbucks and McDonald's to do my schoolwork because I had the Wi-Fi. And a lot of them, they would argue, based off of, where they're setting up their tent at or where they're setting up their space or their bags is at, or there's little things and they'll just snap or they'll just be angry. And they're angry at the scenario or the situation that they're in, right? But, it's kind of like a lose-lose situation. Like there's no resources, nobody to help them, there's nobody to guide them. And when they fight each other, the police or the store calls the police, they come and they get arrested.
Right.
Then, it's just a revolving door. So it's like they got it tough out there because they have to deal with the other homeless people who have mental issues and don't know what they're going through. Then they also have to deal with the average citizen, the people who aren't homeless, who are calling the police on them because they're trying to ask for whatever the case should be.
Right.
And then they have to deal with the police who just treat them whatever type of way.
I'm glad you brought up education because a lot of people feel like it's a one-way street. Like if you're not educated, you're possibly going to be homeless,
Right.
And in your situation, you said you had 3 degrees,
Right.
but you still ended up in that situation.
Right. Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting to know. And I think a lot of people aren't aware that there are others in that situation too who've been to school.
Hey, in San Francisco and California a lot, in Atlanta too. In Atlanta, Georgia, where I got my bachelor's at, there's a lot of college students living out of their car, going to school because they can't afford to pay to live on college campus, and they can't afford to pay for apartment or house in San Francisco and California. So a lot of them, like even if you research it, like you'll find all these videos of all these college students living in vans in the parking lot, on campus.
I read something that said that in California, living out of your car is technically illegal.
Yeah.
And you were living out of your car.
It was just true. Yeah.
So did you ever have any encounter or were you ever scared that, somebody was going to find you? And
I would always try to park somewhere different so I didn't become a target. Because I used to park in front of the school. Then there's not really it's kind of like New York, like street side parking. So it's not really actually parking lots. You can just park up. So for me, it was really like situational. Like I just try to find a different place to park.
If you want to help somebody who's homeless,
do
you know what the laws are that restrict people from actually helping?
There's there's like a bunch of handling laws that's different in different states and different cities. But they're more so against the panhandler. Like you can't, if a panhandler comes up to you and asks for an X amount of dollars, they have to be about 3 feet away from the person. If the person says no, you can't block them. You can't block their path. There's a ton. There's a bunch. There's like, I don't know. There's a bunch. There is a law for some. Well, it might have changed in some different states that the restaurants are not allowed to give food out to the homeless people. But I know, like in Atlanta, Georgia, there used to be a restaurant that used to whenever the day was over with, whatever food they had left over, they'll go tell the homeless people to go in the back of the restaurant and give out the food. Now, was that legal or illegal? I don't know. I'm not too sure. I didn't read up the laws over there in Atlanta at the time that I was there, but the laws on that varies, and also it's also depending on the actual type of food that they give out, whether it's perishable, whether it's not perishable.
I'm asking because I remember there's a time in college where my friend and I were trying to give someone something. And then one of our other friends was like, oh, you're not supposed to give them food because you'll probably get arrested or fined or something like that.
Yeah.
And after that, we both got scared,
Yeah,
and we were like,
do
okay,
it.
like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it probably is a law. There probably is something out there that kind of makes where you're not allowed to give certain foods or certain things to people, but I'm not too sure the exact law that is. So I have to do some research on
okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah, do some research on that for sure.
What were some of the strategies or some of the techniques you use to get yourself out of homelessness?
Right. Okay. So basically, like I always was thinking I was gonna stay there, like that, because I moved there to really stay there and work that job and kind of build my way up in the education and nonprofit arena. So I was hired there to be a program coordinator, and I was a AmeriCorps member, which does a lot of civic work, community work, and helping out the community. So that was kind of my job at the organization was called Playworks. But basically, I was working there, so I made my $2,000 there, right? So how I figured, I was like, man, I gotta take a shower. I gotta take a shower. I figured out a way to brush my teeth and stuff like that. So I went to the YMCA. So, and that's where I was working at before in Atlanta, Georgia, before I moved out there. So, the YMCA, their membership was like $30, $35 a month. So I was like, okay, cool. I could pay that $35. So now at least I can be able to take a shower, brush my teeth, and get freshened up for work. So I can be presentable. You know, I'm not going to be smelly or anything like that, right? And I don't have to spend X amount of dollars on motels to stay there as a shower, because the motels cost about $87 a night for a motel, and like a rinky-dink motel. Right? Nothing fancy. So it's like, and I have to drive over the bridge. It's like $7 every time you cross the bridge.
Oh my gosh.
From San Francisco to Oakland. So I was like, I was doing that at first. I was like, nah, I got to figure out a way to save money, because I'm not gonna have money at the end. So I went paid for the YMCA for $35 or $30 a month, and then I applied for the hardship assistance from the government, or from the nonprofit, and I accepted. So then my $30 went to $15 a month. So that helped me out. And then I was always at the YMCA, and then there was these kids that had like a little sports thing. They always went there to play basketball or t-ball, or baseball, etc. And one day the YMCA worker always seen me there, and I was always just good with the kids. And she said, "Hey, have you ever coached before?" And I was like, "Well, I play sports, but I never actually coached. But I'm always around kids. Like I work at a school, da 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 da." And she said, "Well, would you be willing to apply or do like an interview with us to be an on-call like coach for the basketball program and t-ball baseball program?" I was like, "Yeah, for sure, of course." So what ended up happening was they did like a mock interview where I came in and I actually coached them for like one practice one day, and they watched me to see how I did, and I killed it, I nailed it, I did great. And then they gave me the job for an on-call position. Now, what that waived my $15 fee, so now I can use YMCA for free because I'm an employee now.
Right.
So not only that, so it's like they took away that fee, and then whenever they need either the coach or whatever it could be, they'll call me whenever they need me. So it's just things like that. I was like, okay, well, whatever I could do to decrease my expenses and increase my income would be great. And just stay focused, just being positive. You know, I have this whole "That's Life" mentality. "That's Life" is an acronym that means do anything to say life is for everything. So instead of being mad or sad or having a negative attitude, you simply say "That's life," be positive, and move forward in a positive direction, because there's no point to dwell in the negativity or, in the past, because the world's going to spin with or without you. So with that whole philosophy, I just kept saying that, like, man, that's life, just happening for a reason. I'm going to overcome. I guess I just got to be resilient, and don't complain about anything, because it'd be so much worse. Because the thing about it is, even though I was homeless, I was sleeping in my car. At least I had a car, and at least I had a job to where I could put gas in that car, and I had a key to the car. Like I could pay for certain things that I was getting. So I was always grateful, and I wasn't complaining at all.
Could you repeat "That's Life" again?
That's Life, yes. So "That's Life" is the acronym is DATSLIFE. Do anything to say life is for everything.
Okay.
So they're saying that's life to everything. Like, yeah, that's life. It happens. Like, no matter what it is, it happens. It's not only happening to you, it happened to somebody else before. It happened in the past. It's gonna happen in the future. It happened to somebody in the same time. So it's like that's life. Like some things you can't just control. Like you're just gonna have to deal with it. You know?
Do you remember the day you got out of homelessness?
Yeah, it was January. Well, it was basically the day that I left California. I just had the same car that I was in, and all the things that was still in from my apartment from Atlanta. I think it was January 5th. January 5th, I was officially home. Well, not say officially home, but no home August 15th. When I got there, it was August 15th. I never had an apartment since that. And then I left California January 5th, 2016. So, yeah.
And what was going through your mind when you knew, like, I'm not going back to that?
I told myself I would never go back, live back in California at all. But driving back, it was, I took the time. I was going back to no job, right? I was going back to Atlanta where my grandma lives in Atlanta. So I was going back there and still finish up school. And I went back down to Florida to finish. I went to FAU, Florida Atlantic University. And I was just going to finish up school full time, just do my schoolwork. And but driving back, it was a long drive. It was like 3 days worth of driving from California to Florida. And it was just a lift like, okay, well, at least I'm around people. Like, I don't have my place. I won't have a place. I won't have a job, but I'm around people that will help me out.
Right.
Like, around my mom, around my grandma, my dad, close ones that I grew up with, like, that I know that I could never be homeless out here because I got resources. I got people who help me.
And not to get in your personal business, which I already have. But
it's all good. It's all good.
But are you living by yourself now, or are you still living with somebody?
I'm living on my own now.
Okay.
Grateful that at first I did have I was living with my mom. When I first came back, I was living with my parents. Then I got an apartment. Then it was just a struggle because in Kissimmee, prices so high. It's like $1,000, $1,200 on average to live in Kissimmee now. So that ended up getting a roommate. For just to save some money because I'm working on a lot of things, so I'm saving some money. And I did that for a year, but now I'm back, by myself. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm in a better space now. Like I'm working on a pretty good job. I'm a teacher now. I'm an art teacher, so I'm making more money, better pay. So I'm making things work out. So I'm way better than I was 3 years ago.
And how does it feel to have your own space?
Oh man, it's lovely, man. Because it's like, I still, the same car that was homeless and I still have it today. So it's like, I always, every time I go in there, it kind of like brings me back. And, but the fact that like I have, like if you look at your keychain, I have my car key, I have a house key, my apartment key, and I have a mail key. Like over there, I just had a car key.
Right.
So it's like every time I look at my keychain, like, oh man, I'm so grateful. Wow. Like the fact that I can just go to the doorknob and turn like that, that turning motion alone, I'm overly grateful. And it's like I have all this space. I could put my things in an apartment. Like when I was in California, like everything, my clothes, my laundry, my pillow, my blanket, everything was in my back seat, and my passenger seat, and my trunk. So it's like the fact that when I walk into my apartment, everything is spread out. Or I have a kitchen, I can turn on the faucet when I want. I can take a shower like that. It was so much things to be grateful for every single day.
Right. And what does hashtag AC 2020 mean for you?
Yes, AC 2020. So next year I am running for mayor of City of Kissimmee, but I don't want to call it mayor. Like I want to be a public servant. Like I don't even like the title. So I'm actually working on a whole presentation right now to present to the City of Kissimmee. I want to change the mayor and commissioner name to public servant 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because there's 5 commissioners, 1 is a mayor. I want to change the whole title to public servant 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what would happen is a psychological reminder of whoever's elected. Say, hey, I'm a public servant, nothing more, nothing less.
Right. Do you currently work with any organizations or do you have any plans to help the homeless community?
Yeah. I have a bunch of plans. There's actually one of my campaign manager, Joshua Williston. I think he
was on the show.
Yes. So Josh, he's my campaign manager. He's an awesome guy. He's on the campaign team, and He's starting a business, a nonprofit and a for-profit called Ride Hero, which basically is going to help out the homeless people. Because what a lot of people do is they give money, and it feels good to give money to a homeless person, but it really doesn't help the reason why they're homeless, right? Because they're not getting back to working. They usually probably might spend their money. They may spend it on food, or they may spend it on what they got addicted to, whether it's drugs or whatever the case may be. So the Ride Hero, with Joshua's company, and gets them back in the working sense, like in the workforce. So basically, they'll make these roses, paper roses, and there'll be a driver who will pick up those roses and deliver it to a nursing home or an elderly person as well, and they will get paid for making the rose. But also, there's the Hope Center out there on 192, and they deal with a lot of homeless people, and they do like a lot of clothes drives. They do job skills, like interviewing skills. They actually they give them clothes to go to a job interview. So they do a lot of work in Osceola County. So I'm definitely working with them. I'm working with the city as much as I can. I got a whole bunch of different presentations I plan on doing. I plan to try to connect the city of Kissimmee along with KPD, the Kissimmee Police Department, and the Osceola County Sheriff, and a nonprofit, also with Joshua's nonprofit, to try to figure out a way to, hire the panhandlers or the homeless people who are always asking for money to kind of get them back in the field of working. So being able to, a way to hire them for a day to work with the public works people, like the public people who fix the roads and clean up the trash. And so they can actually work the, $8, $9 an hour for the day. And instead of asking for money, they're actually working for it.
What would be your advice to someone who's going through homelessness or someone who's trying to get out of it?
Man, I would say it's mental. And a lot of it's really mental. I really say to be resilient. I think that's the best advice I could give. It's just to be as positive as possible and just know that it's temporary, or it could be temporary, if you are willing to learn and educate yourself on how to get out, and how to make it.
Right. And could you tell everybody where to find you?
Yes. So you can find me on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Twitter at Mr. That's Life, MRDATSLIFE. You can find me on Facebook at Alvin Codner. And you can find me on Instagram again. My campaign page is at Alvin Codner, ALVINCODNER. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Your story is very inspiring.
Yes,
and I do hope that it can inspire someone out there who might be going through what you went through.
Yeah. I pray it does. Hopefully, I'm grateful that you allowed me the opportunity to even share my story. So it's the first time. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you are now inspired and could possibly help homeless people out here in America. I am your host, Irene Sidede. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment down below to keep the conversation going.